Morning, guys. Thank you, Brianna. So again, my name is Aaron Duval. I'm the co-founder of AcuSpray. Born and raised out of Southeast Michigan, fifth generation farmer. We farm about 2,500 acres of row crop and produce up there. That's how I got started into the drone business. And part of being in the drone business is always looking for that next sector to break into. Ag's been our bread and butter, but we spent a lot of time in diversifying our sectors that we apply in, and golf courses and turf was one of the first ones that we went after. In Michigan, we have over 850 golf courses, and the drone technology works on golf courses. And after we did our trials and we seen how the efficacy and the coverage worked in that application, that was where we really put our foot in the gas in developing this industry. So I'm going to go over high level what we do in the turf, and then I'm going to open it up for some questions and answers afterwards. There's so many keys that we've learned in the last 3 years working on different application practices, and it is not anything like row crop at all. So our business model in the northern Midwest for the golf courses is early season herbicide in the native and the tall fescue, your rough areas. We're doing broadleaf herbicide applications there. The whole big part of the drone industry in the native and the tall fescue is they do not want to leave any tire tracks from conventional spraying. It hurts their seed head, which is the color for the tall fescue. And the new trend in golf courses as they're developing and designing these new golf courses is there's a lot of roughs and native areas going into these new designs. Before, they would just mow it a couple times a year, but now they're trying to make the outside of the fairways and stuff look nice. So we start that with the early season. Mid-season, we're getting into some ponds and trees. And then there's a second herbicide treatment that goes into native and the tall fescue. Up in the northern, we have an invasive species called Phragmites, and it is taking over our drainage ways. That has been a big piece. The golf courses have not had a way to treat it because it's usually on the edge of ponds, in their ditches and streams that run through the golf courses. So the drones have been a great tool, although it has been very complicated to get the chemistry right to attack it. We've found some ways to get there. And then late season, there's a final herbicide treatment in the natives and the talls, and then we're looking at broad fungicide applications down the fairways. Up in the northern climate, we get what they call snow mold or pink mold, which is in the turf. It's basically the fungicide treatment for when the snow sets on the turf and doesn't let it breathe. So those applications have been difficult to get going for us in the golf sector in the first couple years. And the biggest reason why is we are not using that product at the recommended rate of gallons applied, right? So we got some experimental exemptions to go off label from MDARD. And we went in and we did a bunch of trial works on driving greens, low risk areas to start trying that out for our superintendents. And then once we had the efficacy on the driving ranges and the low risk areas, that's when we started moving into some of the fairway stuff. In Michigan, we are very heavily regulated as applicators. So every one of our pilots have to have a commercial applicator's license. Every one of our pilots have to have all of their endorsements. The company does not get to carry that. So when we go into a golf course, you'll have forestry, aquatics, turf. All of those endorsements have to be carried just to get into the golf courses in Michigan. Some of the barriers that we've experienced getting into this, you are not going to show up with a pickup and a drone hanging out of the back and hoses leaking and nozzles dripping on a drone and think you're going to get onto a 5 $100,000 green. It's not going to work. It's a total different world than what ag is. Everything has to be clean. All of our drones and our mixing equipment are for turf only, and that's where they stay. I don't want any carryover from the ag world going into the turf world. Everything is separated. And PPE, all of the pilots have to follow the PPE, and you have to put on the show like you're a professional business person to get into these country clubs. So earning that superintendent's trust, how do you do that? You go walking up to a very high-end country club, and your sales pitch is, hey, I fly drones and I want to come spray some stuff on your golf course. Their first answer is no. And it 99% of the time. And you have to walk them through that. What we did is we did a lot of free trials. And we're like, hey, give us a low risk area. Let us show you what the drones can do and how you can use this drone on your golf course. The first couple demos we did was with water, just so they could understand how a drone sprayed, what the patterns were like. And then we moved into some very low risk areas. We did a lot of free trial work. And then after they seen it run, they're like, oh, that works. And another thing that we found out in the golf and turf industry is I had no idea how many golf courses still backpack sprayed ravines and elevations. It was insane. In Michigan, we have a lot of elevation in northern Michigan and hills, and you can't get a conventional ground wheel sprayer in there. So they physically pay interns to backpack that stuff and walk through it and spray it. So they start thinking very quickly about how they can use this tool in their golf course. One of the things you got to remember is you're not going to go into a golf course with a golf course superintendent there and recommend any type of chemistry. They know what works on their turf. They know the program they use, and their job depends on what that golf course looks like. So they are very, very particular about their prescriptions and how they do it. So our business approach has been, let us come, insert ourselves, be a tool in your toolbox, use the drone technology where it is applicable inside the golf courses, and then let's look at your chemistry and let's make sure that's compatible with the drones. Application timing. It is hard to get timing windows to spray in a golf course. Most of the high-end golf courses are closed on Mondays, and they want everything sprayed on Monday, and they send a fleet out there to go do it. So that's been a challenge. We've actually, the first year we did it, we went old school, and we're like, we're going to wait till the dew's off the leaves. We're going to wait till all the foliar dries, and then we're going to go out and we're going to try to spray. We didn't have enough window. Wind would come up at 3 and 4 in the afternoon, and you're out of that golf course. So then we started pushing it a little bit in the morning and using some DRAs and some types of oil, whether it's surfactants, whatever we're using. And then we started getting out there early in the mornings and actually doing some efficacy trials with the foliage still having dampness on it. And we've had some good success at that. So in the last year, we really moved our application windows up in the morning. Very hard to talk the superintendents into that, but once you get going. Another barrier to entry is insurance requirements. You have to make sure your equipment is insured for the commodity that you're spraying. You guys have heard that theme through this whole conference. You're not gonna, in Michigan, we have the minimum $300,000 application liability insurance per airframe. That's not gonna go very far on a 1/10 of an acre, $500,000 green if you go smoke it. So you have to make sure that your insurance requirements are where they need to be, and it is a cost. We carry a couple of the smaller drones that we have, we carry very, very high application liability insurance in that for that reason. Another barrier to entry is chemical labels. There's never been a need for an aerial label in golf courses. Hasn't You're not going to fly it with an airplane or helicopter or anything like that. But when you do your research, many of the active ingredients that they use in golf courses are aerial labeled in agriculture. Azoxystrobin is one of their high-end fungicides they use, has an aerial label everywhere else but the turf. So we sat down with MDARD and we explained to them how that works, and we talked all through that. And we have in Michigan, after having that conversation, we have what they've given us as a silent label grant. And what it means is we go to them and we state the case that say, hey, we want to put azoxystrobin on turf. It's labeled in ag and all the other industries. It's not labeled here. It doesn't say it's restricted for aerial. It's just not identified. So we'll go ask for permission, and then we get an exemption, and then we go put that through. Every state's going to be different, though. You're not going to get that. I don't think you're going to get as much flexibility out of every state as what we're getting out of Michigan, but we have been servicing Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois because they're reciprocal to our application, our pesticide business license. And the states around us have all understood the scenario. Common sense has to apply. You are a commercial applicator. I was shocked to find out when we got into golf and turf, they use dicamba everywhere. I couldn't believe it. And the first thing a superintendent says is, yeah, we're going to hit this rough area. We're going to clean some of it up and we're going to load some dicamba salt in it. And I'm like, no, we're not. That subdivision that's a half a mile away will not have a piece of landscaping in it by the next day because it'll get up and walk a half a mile. So obviously we use common sense when we apply. The biggest barrier to entry is this last one, definitive spray line. You have to figure out and get very creative because we do not have definitive spray lines on drone application coming out of our nozzles. So a lot of the herbicides that we use in the natives and roughs will actually kill Kentucky blue. Segment is one of them. So what we do is, just because the whole mindset of using a drone in a golf course is eliminate the tire tracks. So what we'll do is we'll set that 6-foot boundary inside the border, the actual border of the roughs, and then we're going to apply in there, and then they come back with their ground rig and hang a boom out and use it as that definitive spread line, and then they spray the perimeter. So it's kind of like a team effort. We work on the middle, they work on the outside. I like that approach because it eliminates a lot of risk for us. Application techniques. It is a very, very fine line as far as our techniques. A lot higher GPA, narrower swaths, and slower ground speeds. But we've learned the hard lesson that they can't be too slow ground speeds because you can't get your prop wash or prop vortex going inside the pattern. And it's very important for drones. So it has been a balance of trying to figure out where that ground speed is, what your swath patterns are. And, you know, we will not spray anything less than 5 gallons per acre on a golf course. Everything has been 5 gallon and up. If you get into the golf course stuff, you have to do your research on your drones, what model they are, and figure out where your swaths are at. There's all kinds of great tools for that. We use Swath Gobbler, Drop Field. There's a lot of good tools in there, but you have to understand what your equipment does, how that pattern comes out of that drone, and how you're going to approach each job. So something that AcuSpray has really been trying to drive the industry towards is drone classifications. So I want to just take a little minute of this before I go into the drones. When we have our customers out there for drone sales, the first response that you get out of a customer when you're talking about drones is, well, I want the biggest drone there is. I want the T100, I want the Black Betty, I want the biggest thing. And that's when you really have to go to work as a sales group and say, okay, let's understand your demographic. What are you trying to do and where you're trying to spray? So what we're using is we basically broke the drones up into classes where we're saying the class 1 drone is the smaller drones. They're the T25s. They're the HD 525 that will be coming to market soon. There's actually one here. We have one and we're doing some testing on it. And then your class 2 drones are going to be in that 15 to 20 gallon range, the T50s and just in that middle class, that workhorse. And then the class 3 drones are going to be the T100s and the Black Betties. So with that being said, our biggest and most efficient tool is the DJI T25 in golf courses. I love that thing. The radar is very intimate, about 6 or 8 foot around it. And that really helps us in the turf because there's trees and obstacles everywhere. It is all manual or manual plus flying. And now you can't get T25s. They're not around. Nobody has them. So we're spending a lot of time this year and we're going to test out the HD 525 as a tool for that class 1 drone. We have a lot of interest in expanding where in our turf market, but we've really been limited on equipment availability. The T50 is that class 2 drone. That's your fungicide guy. You're going to get a little more open area. Your radar is about 13 to 17 foot, depending on how you're coming at it and how fast you're coming. And it gives you a little more capacity when you get into those bigger fairway applications. So those are really the drones for the market that we're using in the turf. 90% of it is that class 1 drone. All right, here is a picture of our Pro Gator setup. Our Pro Gator, we went this way because when you get on the higher end golf courses, you have to have certain requirements to get on there. There's a PGA certification on a John Deere Pro Gator. That certification means it has open differential, turf tires of a certain size, and there's a whole list of them. So we ended up taking one of these John Deere Pro Gators. We build a customized rack on the back. We carry our fresh water is always our fresh water. We do not do any hot loads anywhere in our business. We will always mix everywhere we go. So I've got our fresh water, our transfer pump in there, our generators on board. We got a hose reel for filling and our charging stations in the back. We got another picture of it to give it another view. So that'll kind of give you a side view of the equipment on there. I designed this skid. You guys can see the fork pockets in there. It actually bolts on the bed and then we can pull it off and remove it if we're not using it. The John Deere Pro Gators are stupid expensive. I think they're like 40 grand now. So I did not want an asset that was just tied to turf. I wanted to be able to use it if I needed it something else, so it just sits on the bed. All right, here's a video of a T25 working in some native and rough, spraying herbicide. Just wanted to kind of give you guys a little feel of some of the stuff and some of the elevation we're spraying. We're after, that is frag muddy right there with the featherhead on it, the tall reed grass. But just some of the views of some of the stuff we're using. They used to backpack all of this until we brought drones in. Most of this stuff would be 5 GPA work, 7. Let's see. More roughs, more native grass work alongside. Some more ravine work. Just to give you a little bit of idea of the stuff that we're doing out there, so you can kind of get your heads wrapped around it. This is Phragmite work, invasive species that we have in pretty much everywhere in Michigan now. We do a lot of drainage ditch and other applications. I did not see the deer run out of there until just now. Another tool for the golf courses that we use in the drone industry. So NDVI imaging, 3M, drone. Every golf course that we go on, the first thing we do is we map it. And we'll map it and image it, straight up image it. And we charge for that service. We hold that on our server. And then we use that because the golf course superintendent will tell you that, well, we want to go out and we want to spray the backside of 9 and work off 10 and 11. And you need to know where those sections are in their golf course. So we'll go out and we'll map it. We'll have that. We use it for communication. And then we provide an NDVI imaging service for them. So multispectral NDVI, what this does is it actually reads how the tissue transpires. So it creates a heat map. We use it a ton in ag. The golf course industry is just starting to utilize it. It will tell you where the plant is stressed before the human eye will, but it doesn't tell you why it's stressed. So it'll give you the location of the stressed plant. It's up to the superintendent and you to go out and scout it. Is it drought stress? Do I not have my sprinkler nozzles the right way? Is it disease pressure? Is it insect pressure? What's stressing that plant? So it's a very good scouting tool. The golf courses are really starting to grab onto this because it'll identify the problem before you can see it with the eye. If you see a problem with the golf course with the eye, you're too late because your tissue is already discolored or you have an ugly spot in your greenhouse or in your golf course, and you don't want anything to do with that. Just another mapping. So this is actually Adena in Ocala. So just another image that we do of what we do inside the golf courses. And then that will turn it into, that's the same golf course turned into an NDVI imaging. All right, so that was a very quick 10,000 foot view. I got a couple minutes left. If you guys got any questions, I'll answer them for you.
What is the uppermost limit of liability that you see these courses requiring? And are you getting liability specific to the aircraft and not to the entire business?
Correct. So in the state of Michigan, we are required to carry chemical liability insurance per airframe. So it is tied to the airframe. You're in that $1 million to $2 million chemical application liability range for that drone. So his question is, have we seen anything over the 2 million? And we have not, personally.
We have a 10 million actually for our energy company as well. But what we end up doing was splitting our policy. So we have 1 or 2 drones that we use for them on the 10 million, and then we split the rest to 2.
Correct. So we also do not carry that on every airframe. It's only the ones that are spraying that.
That's in California, yeah.
Good question.
Question over here.
Obviously, this type of specialized PGA approved equipment, you didn't just have right away, I would assume. So for guys like us who are interested in turf with golf courses and want to do it responsibly, how do you suggest guys like us even get on the property to do a demo? I mean, I've got a pickup unit that I'm building, but how do we get on the property to even do a demo? They want a demo.
I would start out getting in, doing your demo in water and just using water, right? Low risk, and let them understand how the drones work and do that. Like that Gator, it's sold all over the turf industry. It's what all the sports stadiums and stuff use. It is a big investment, and you got to make sure that you're going to get some work before you make an investment. But other than that, the Gator chassis itself was there. But I will tell you that we went to that because some of the very, very high-end golf courses around required it. Not every golf course is going to require that. So I think it's something that you can talk through with the superintendent, and it'll be a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
One of the biggest things is you always have to make sure, like in this picture, you do any refilling or anything or any landing is always on the cart path. You don't ever want to do it off the cart path. If you drip or something comes out and you're on the cart path, this is where it's going to be safe.
And then my follow-up to that is, do you being that you're here doing this speech and presentation, which I thank you for, do you are willing to offer private consulting on this?
So we get asked that all the time. So we don't have an official service to do that. Would I be open for conversations about that? Probably. I'll be totally transparent. This is something that we haven't had time for, but I'd be open for some conversations about it.
Have you ever done early application of N or any foliars before they physically drive out there?
The turf industry uses slow release Osmocote. They don't do a lot of applications. It's all poly-coated, released N. They fertilize not for yield, but just for plant health. So in other words, they don't want to make the grass grow because they got to cut it more, but they want the plant health. So we have not gotten into that in there, but it's something that we're trying to start breaking into with the dry applications.
Yeah, what are you guys putting on fairways and greens?
So we don't do a lot of green work. Most of it is fairways, and those are fungicide applications.
We have time for one more, if any other questions.
With the barrier to entry, are you guys charging hourly to do something like this?
So we are charging on an area based, and we are up in Michigan where our market is and in the golf courses are, we're in that $125 to $175 an acre range.
All right, thanks so much, Aaron. Let's give him a big hand.
Thank you.